These humans made me into the monster I am. So I'll just have to show them what kind of a monster I can be.
Oh my god, what happened to you? You poor burn victim.
Jeez, I'm not a burn victim.
What kind of cruel creator gave you tiny little arms? How do you even pick up anything?
It's okay, I'm supposed to look like this.
Are you sure?
Yes, now you can stop crying.
Okay, but what are you doing in the city?
Gonna kill me some humans. Oh god, not again.
Here's what super important reviews. My name is Steve. Today we go over the NECA Shin Godzilla. If you guys don't know where this is from, it's from the Toho film Shin Godzilla. It came out in 2016. Was released stateside, limited time in theaters, and played in Japan for like flipping ever. But if you guys haven't seen Shin Godzilla, really awesome movie. I don't know how you'd watch it without doing it nefariously. DVD and Blu-ray should be coming out towards the end of the year, so that you got to look forward to. But anyways, the main reason I picked up this figure is because a crap ton of you guys have been asking for this one in particular. Because with the SH Monster Shin Godzilla, that figure is now fairly expensive. And even when it initially came out, it was fairly expensive because pretty much all the Shin Godzilla figures weren't making their way stateside, which kind of upped their prices a bit, especially with the Bandai Tamashii ones. And that kind of caused, understandably, a lot of headaches for most collectors. Now we have the Awakened version coming out for SH Monstars, but that also is going to be hard to acquire because that one's exclusive. So if you missed the pre-order window, you're pretty much in the same boat you were originally with the other SH Monstars. So, thankfully NECA has put out this fairly inexpensive version, which will run you a little over 20 bucks for this guy in particular. And we're here mainly to see if this guy is really worth the purchase, or if you guys should just stick with your Monstars. But anyways, without further ado, further packaging, pretty much exact same thing we got with every other NECA figure, where you have the Bandai Creations 54 on the back, says Godzilla and kanji on the side here. Got Godzilla, Shin Godzilla, ages 14 and up. I really wish they would update this package with one of their figures. Please, like, why not just use your guys' 54? Would look so much better. Trust me. But nothing really going on the side of the packaging. Just clear translucent plastic so you can get some better shots of Godzilla. On the back of the package, you just get Shin Godzilla in a nice dynamic pose, Godzilla, and some Lego Mumbo Jumbo. So let's get this guy opened up out of his plastic prison. Alright, so now that Shin Godzilla opened up out of his plastic prison, first we're going to go over his accessory, which is his tail, which you're going to have to attach from outside of the packaging, which you'll just notice here is a giant ball joint hole there, giant ball joint on the end of the tail. You just insert it over top of the ball joint. Make sure to try to go into the joint as straight as possible so you don't worry about snapping. It is a huge joint there, so it's not as big of a concern, but still, just always take that into consideration. But you just line it up, pop it in. Pretty easy to do. Didn't really have to use a hairdryer for that. And then once you get it in, the tail is articulated for the most part, where you have a ball joint here, 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 right there, this section. And then this part is actually a bendy wire with what feels like more plastic here at the top. But this does not articulate at all. This is actually glued in. So, alright, I'm just going to state this right now. I feel like this figure was designed to be in this stance, and mainly this stance. Because primarily with the head sculpt here, looks really great right now. Looking down, definitely very trademark Shin Godzilla. Looks exactly like what you would see in the film for the pose anyways. Looks great. Same with the tail. Definitely designed to be in this pattern, just like you see with the Monstars one, just like you see in the film. Stance looks really good. Same with the arms. Really fantastic. Now, I feel like after they got it, like they designed it, sculpted it to be in this position, then they made their articulation cuts, and that was it. And they didn't really take into consideration how he's going to look trying to do other poses, or even the way the articulation is going to be. And I'll just get into it right now, starting for the head sculpt. Overall, the head sculpt for this guy is actually really nice. I actually really like the molded sculpt for the face. Looks really good. His eyes are looking fairly straightforward. Little googly still, but still has that Nice little deformed trademark Shin Godzilla mush. Teeth. Gotta lift his head up because you can't really open his jaw very wide when you have his head down. Teeth look really gnarly. And a very dark bone color. Like almost a gray. With some fleshy reds for the insides of the mouth. The only thing is, I think the little membrane on the sides may be a little bit too big. Because you don't get to see that really gnarly inner mouth workings that you get to see on, say, the Monster Arts or even the X Pluses. Like, this just seems typical monster. Which is a little off for me, but nothing too crazy. The only thing that seems odd for me, having him look down, is his head seems a wee bit elongated. Which, after sitting down and looking at some images, it's not really that the head is too long. It's the way that the articulation is cut and the size of the neck. Really makes the head seem a lot bigger. Also, the dorsal spines don't help with this either. Because with the dorsal spines being a little bit elongated back here, and it's starting there, really helps to make his head just seem that much bigger. Because if the head was just shifted a little bit more back, it'd look fine. It would actually look perfect. And then have the neck here maybe be a little bit more cutaway so that the jaw could open. Or some way of working in the jaw opening into the neck, where it just kind of slides into the neck. That would have been great. And maybe shaved off a little bit of the dorsal spines. Really would have helped to make the head not look quite so huge in comparison to the rest of the upper body here. Because the other thing too, and this is why I bring up the articulation point, is because when you lift this head up, it just kind of overall adds to that effect. Because his jaw is just really elongated. Also, the lower jaw is maybe a little bit too long too. I probably sound really nitpicky in this video, but I'm just trying to point out some things on here that just kind of just stand out for me. But this has been an issue I've had with each of the Monster Arts, is the lower jaws maybe could be a little bit shortened. Because when you have it open, it doesn't really look quite as right as it could be. It's not horrible in the least, but it's just, again, could be a little bit better. Because, like, say, if I can pop this off. There we go. If the head was, like, right up here, and there's a little bit more of a figure right around the neck, that would look really good. And that would look overall correct for Shin Godzilla. But the head shifted down a little bit too far. Alright, so now that we got my nitpicky part out of the way, I really love the rest of the body, though. Like, for the most part, this section right here of the Kaiju is fantastic. I love the dorsal spines. The red paint looks really nice. The spines are really nicely done. Mine's got a little bit of a curve right there, but that's nothing too crazy. This is easily fixable with the hair dryer. But the back looks awesome. Really love the blood red going up into the neck region too. Looks really great. I wish maybe there's a little bit more red right here. Kind of the opposite of the SH Monster Arts one. And maybe could use a little bit more right there. Not bad though. Like, I would rather have a little bit less than too crazy. So, it still works really well. Arms look really cool. Really stumpy, just like they're supposed to be. A little bit on the side, they stick out a little bit too far. And that's kind of the way the articulation set up, because it's on a ball joint and it sticks out. And there's a little bit of a swivel, so you can bring them in on the sides here. But for the most part, that's as far in as you're going to be getting it, which is fine. Like, Shin Godzilla doesn't really move his arms that much anyways. It's kind of like same with the Monster Arts one. So it just kind of being there is perfectly fine for me. And then you have the giant bulbous shoulder muscles kind of sitting over top, and the arms just kind of sticking into there, which still looks really awesome. And you got the nice little spike here on the front of his chest plate. Looks great. Like, I love the detailing for the body with all the wrinkling. You got some little protrusions here on the sides. Like, they did a really, really solid job on the body sculpt. Even the legs, too. Very nice, where you have that nice, more dinosaur-ish shape, but a lot of the scaling and kind of looks like flowing molten lava going down the Kaiju, which is a really interesting look for him. And then for his feet are painted very nicely with the bone colored nails coming out. Even some detailing here for the bottom of the feet with some added little peg holes if you guys want to stick him on a stand. Now, for my next problem, which could pretty much probably just be mine, but for my tail here, it's really loose here on this ball joint in particular, which makes it a little bit of a pain in the butt to pose because it likes to wobble to the left and to the right real easy. But when you have it sitting on the table, it'll hold up nicely. It's just more, to me, feels like a wasted joint here, because if it's not going to be holding its pose and doing anything, it's not going to be doing me any good. And I kind of wish, because this part of the tail is a bendy wire, just like we mentioned. I kind of wish they maybe would have done that for the entirety of the tail. Now, hear me out. And with this figure having ball joints here and the added weight that is already on this tail, and this part already being a bendy wire as it is, I have a really hard time feeling that this is going to be holding its pose, especially over a long period of time. Like this is going to wear out, especially with excessive use. And with a bendy wire, you could have just bent it into this spot or whatever position you wanted to, called it a day. Now, the negatives of a bendy wire is, with excessive use, I would worry about the bendy wire snapping. But right now, even with the articulation here, you're more or less going to be having it in this pose anyways. So if you just had the bendy wire and the tail just kind of posing where you want it to, it overall, I feel like, would have done the same effect. Probably would have made more people upset, and I could just be the only person that maybe would have appreciated that a little more. That and just like consistency purposes, like it's kind of weird having like plastic, bendy plastic. If it just all was just one solid material, I think it would have helped out a little more. That being said, detail-wise, the tail overall still looks really nice. You have the nice segmenting sections here like you would expect to see on Shin. Same with the dorsal spines coming down the back section here, look really good. And I like too that they got the elongated dorsal spines here at the bend of the tail. And then coming up to the disgusting little end here. Which, for the disgusting little end, I don't see it anyways, but I don't see that little face on the end of the tail. Could just be me, but that was kind of like one of the more iconic things of Shin Godzilla is he has like that little face on the, like what appears to be a face on the end of the tail. And this doesn't have it. And also, I'm thinking that this is supposed to be bone on the undersection of the tail. It kind of looks like Cheetos. Or possibly some cheesy poofs. I'm not 100% certain. But that's not something you really seen on Shin Godzilla. So I feel like this is maybe more of like a liberty that NECA took for this figure. But it's just really odd to see here because this is the only figure of Shin Godzilla that has this on it. So it's just something that's a little strange. Now for Shin Godzilla's articulation. Head can look down about that far. Up about that far. His neck, getting the hair out of there, shimmy down about that far. Up about that far. He can rotate side to side. Pretty much all the way around. A little bit of a wiggle. Nothing too crazy. Arms can do a swivel. Move a little bit forward and back, but you're not going to get a whole lot of range of motion out of there. The elbow has a rotation and a side swivel. Hands can rotate all the way around. For his waist, can lean down about that far, back about that far. Little bit of a rotation. Legs can go outwards about that far, inwards about that far, so nothing really too much there. But really nice forward kick. Can go all the way around. Can it do it on the other side? Other side, not so much. So a little bit of a forward and back motion. Has a bend here at the knees. Rotation at the knee. Rotation at the second knee here. Also a really nice bend there. And a little bit of a pivot. And then for the tail, again, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, ball joint, bendy wire. So a lot of play there for the tail section. It's just with a lot of the weight here is going to cause some problems here on the overall joints and keeping certain poses. But again, having it sit on a table, it's still going to hold the upright pose perfectly fine. Alright, so for some quick comparison, the big one is here it is next to the SH Monster Arts version. Now, I'm probably going to get some flack for this, and I might even be called a Monster Arts fanboy. I personally still think that this is overall the better figure. Because for the sculpt, it's not beating the Monster Arts one. Not in the least for me. Because I love the dorsal spine. Like, I love overall the sculpt for the Monster Arts Shin Godzilla is top notch. Like, there's not really a whole lot for me to really complain about. I love everything going on about it. I really like the articulation for him as well. Really solid. But the primary thing that I feel like a lot of people are going to give a take from this is the NECA one easily has the better paint job and is going to be way more consistent, because with this guy, his biggest problem that he had with his release is my Shin Godzilla is not going to be the same as your SH Monster Shin Godzilla. And what I mean by that is some people have more redneck, some people's models will be a little bit more painted there, and it's just pretty much like the red is not evenly distributed between each of the Monster Arts releases. While with the NECA one, for the most part, yours should be the exact same as mine. The only real thing would be, say, like your tail might have better ball joints, or you might have some more stiffer joints, but that's pretty much going to be the primary difference. The overall paint job and just detail-wise should be the same. But for me, the SH Monsters version just has more of that wow factor, especially with it being so huge compared to most of the other Monster Arts figures. And overall, like, the proportions are correct. With the NECA version, it has a shorter tail, which makes sense because it has to fit inside the packaging. And it's still long. Like, it looks good with him, but it's not quite correct for the Kaiju, which is something to be expected because there is some liberties taken with the NECA figures, which works for me because I don't want the exact same shit by each company, you know? Like, I need a reason to pick this guy up, because since I already have him, why would I pick this guy up? Now, I feel like for people that missed out on him, they want this, like something like this one. So they want NECA to put out the exact same. But with that, you can't appease everyone else, so you got to try to keep it into a budget, because again, with the longer tail, more the price goes up. And for what they have here, I think they did a really solid job, though, especially at the price. Because the Monster Arts one, again, when it came out, about 125 shipped, because you'd have to import it, no matter what. Like, this guy you could pick up at Toys R Us for 25 bucks. And for 25 bucks, there's not a whole lot of difference. Like, he's just a little bit taller, tail's longer. That's about it. So again, I still prefer this one overall, but this is still pretty impressive standing next to it. And because I have them both here, I can show you guys what I was talking about with the head. You'll see here that his head's definitely sitting farther back and the neck's a little bit more elongated. While on this one, again, it's shifted down a little bit, which is really what throws you off, because you can see here the dorsal spines pretty much look the exact same, at least in terms of height. It's just the head really needed to be a little bit more up and towards the back. And here's the NECA Shin Godzilla compared next to the Bandai Vinyl Shin Godzilla and the NECA 1954 Godzilla. And here's compared next to some Evangelion figures with the Robot Spirits Evangelion Unit 1 and the Figma Asuka Langley Soryu. And here's some NECA Pacific Rim figures with the Anchorage Attack Gypsy Danger and Mutavor. And here's some more NECA Godzilla figures with the GMK Godzilla and the Loot Crate exclusive Reactor Glow Godzilla. So overall, the NECA Shin Godzilla, I think this guy is a really solid figure. Overall, the paint job and detailing on him is actually really solid, with some questionable decisions for the head region and the tail for me. Easily being the biggest negatives, because again, it's nice that the tail is articulated, but with the weight, it kind of hinders it a little bit. And I think the head maybe could have been positioned a little bit better to improve the overall appearance of the figure. And for me, I don't feel like this replaces the SH Monster Arts figure, because that figure still, with its quality issues between each figure, mine personally, I still really, again, really love the detailing on it, and I think the sculpt is phenomenal. Just the paint job is a little bit hit and miss. And at that price point, that's a little bit more of a harder pill to swallow. Well, this guy only being about $25, really helps to sell this figure in compared to the aftermarket price of the SH Monstars one. So I feel like the NECA one is for the collector that was not able to pick up the Monster Arts version, or even the Awakening one that's coming out, because I'm pretty sure the pre-orders for that one are already closed. So you're going to be dealing with third market prices for either of those. And I can tell you right now, the third party for those figures is not going to be worth it. And that's where this guy comes in, because at $25, this is easily the best, most inexpensive Shin Godzilla you're going to be able to buy. It beats the vinyl version and most of the other small ones in my opinion. If you want a really awesome looking Shin Godzilla, I would recommend the X Plus. But if you want an articulated one and don't want to pay third party for the Monster Arts one, then definitely pick up this little bad boy. But what do you guys think? If you guys pick up the NECA Shin Godzilla, what's your favorite Shin Godzilla figure? Or is 1984 just more your thing? Please let us know in the comments. Look closer at pictures of this guy on our website if you want to click the link in the description below. We also have our Patreon account if you guys like to help support the channel, also down in the description. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button, subscribe, become a ranger today. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.